Where's the motor? There he is.
Okay, so today we're going to replace the doors on our 1990 Toyota 4Runner. You can see here, this driver's side rear passenger door is pretty messed up. Like, you can actually hear wind coming into the vehicle when you're driving down the highway and such. So we're going to work on this door first, and we're just going to do it quickly without recording, so we actually figure out what the components are of the door, and then we can show you how we take off the second door. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the door handle itself. There's a Phillips head screw just in the center of it. And then in order to pop this off, you go forward and then pull out. And on the back, you're going to have the connector that allows the latch to actually open the door itself. You're going to have to pry up on this little plastic tab here. Oh, you're good.
I thought I broke it.
Nope. And then it just, so you slide off this sideways and then you just pop it off like that. Next step, you pop up these covers here, and inside there is another Phillips head screw under each one. Okay, so now there's a series of like push tabs around the perimeter of the interior panel. So you're just gonna lightly find where they are, pop them up. Then the whole door interior panel lifts up like this. And then behind it is the wiring harness. So you push and pull out, and now you can separate the interior panel from the rest of the door. Cut this without cutting the wire. Pop it off. Slide the foamy off. And work our way around, pulling off this cover. Then on the back side of this plastic clasp that holds the wiring harness on, there's a little plastic clip right there. I'm just gonna take some pliers, push in on the little wings there, and then pop it out. There we go. So that pops out. And we can take the plastic cover off. We can start taking the wiring harness and disconnecting it from the various sections, so we can feed it out the door because it pops out here. So I'm going to feed out that wiring harness from the door for the new door to come in. To disconnect the wiring harness from the electric lock motor, there's a tab just in the corner here, right there. Push on and pull. Like that. Push in, pop off. There. Next thing we're going to do is disconnect the manual lock release here. It's just a Phillips head screw, and then this allows the lock pull tab to come up, and then it just twists off the rod like that. Now to get the window motor out, because these ones are electric windows and the ones on the new doors that we have they've been converted to manual. They still have all the same holes and everything and screw points where you can fit a power window in there. So because we still want to have our power windows, we're going to swap out the motor, which is behind here. There's a series of 10mm bolts that all need to come undone, along with this guy over here as well. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts. Okay, so the motor comes down. There's a little connector right here. Again, push on the tab, wiggle out, comes off. So there's the motor, and here's the regulator. We want to bring the window down So the reason why I'm pulling it down is in order to get the regulator and the motor off, there's two 10mm bolts. There's one at the far corner here and one right here. So these bolts are what hold the regulator to the bottom of the window. So I have to undo those, and then I can just pull, I can collapse this whole part here and then just pull it out this hole. So you can jimmy some stuff around to try and get better access to the bolts. I'm gonna have to go in this hole here to get to the 10mm bolt. Now I'm gonna pull the window back up. And this whole part here, rotate it, collapse it, and it'll come out the door like that. To continue on, we're gonna fish the wiring harness out of the door. And in order to get it to fit, I cut the tape off this plastic bracket here. Then we take a flathead screwdriver, shove it in these parts here, kind of wiggle it around to try and get the clips off. There's two. So then that clip comes off. Right there is another plastic tab too. So right here is this little rubber grommet here. If you come in the back of the door, or sorry, from the inside, you can just squeeze it with your fingers to try and push it out the hole. And you can start feeding the wire harness out of the door. Just take my punch from the bottom, pop it off. Now we can undo the 4 bolts that are on the hinges here. So now, depending on how much room you have for each bolt, will determine what tool I'm going to use. I'm going to try and use the 12mm ratchet for most of them, but some of them I realized on the last door that it was pretty tight to get the head of the ratchet in there, so a 12mm wrench is also a good option. Now you can pull the door off. So now this is the new replacement door. What I'm going to do is remove everything like we just did on the old door, and then we're going to put this door on and then swap the interior components out for the power windows and such.
So we're gonna put the door back on, and then we're gonna hook up the regulator as well as all of the rest of the wiring.
You want to open the other door? There we go. Now we're going to feed the wiring harness back into the door. Okay, so I've already moved the window down so I can access these holes here. The motor comes in like this. And then what I want to do is take this rail here and line up the holes here with the holes that are on the bottom of the window. This little tab right here needs to go on the outside part of the window, and these are on the inside. The other hole that you need to line up is underneath here. So you might have to, you know, wiggle around the window a little bit to try and get it to line up. So right there you can see this tab. This tab's on the outside and the holes line up on the inside. You're gonna take your 10mm bolts. And this one is in. Now I can bolt the motor and mount it back to the inside of the door. So last time what worked is do the top ones first, because they all got to line up. In order to get the holes to line up, we're gonna run the motor slightly, just to give us some wiggle room. We noticed that having the window in the all the way up position won't let us line it up with these holes. So what we're gonna do is you have to hook up the entire wiring harness. This plug goes into the lock system, and then this plug goes into the door window switch, and then this little white plug connects to the motor. So I've got everything hooked up, and now Ashley's just gonna go turn the key. There we go, so now we're lined up. So this little part here just rotates to line up with these two holes. These are all the 10mm bolts. So now what we're gonna do is go around the door and zip tie the wiring harness to the various plastic clips that we either pulled off or left behind. So the first one I'm going to start off with is this white one that's on the inside of the door that I showed earlier, and this just makes sure that the wire doesn't get in the way of the window when you operate it. Okay, so now I'm going to take the blue tab here, and it slides in into this hole here with you can see where the tape was. I'm just going to put 2 zip ties there around it. And that just goes in the hole like there. Push those 2 tabs in there, throw some zip ties on.
Oh, not in the tab.
And this plug goes into the lock motor. Okay, so that's on there, and then it zip ties on there. This little tab here. Okay, so now before putting the plastic cover back on, I'm gonna take some rust check and spray it all on the inside of the door. Okay, next step is to put on the cover. Door handle rod.
Good. Okay. Ready?
Now we can put the interior door trim on. So you got to connect up your window switch. There you go. And you bring it from the top down. Make sure your
Good.
little rod for your handle's good to go. So we only put down a few of the tabs to lock it in place. Now we're going to put on our door handle. So the little rod is right here. This little plastic clip. You're going to have to move out of the way like that. Slide on the rod, and then rotate the clip back on top of the rod, and then it'll be secured. And there's the clip back on the rod. Then your handle slides in. and then pull in and back to lock it in place, and then it should line up with your screw hole. And then also 2 Phillips head screws for these guys. On the back of them there should be those blue plastic tabs that the screws go into. Take your little plastic covers, put them over the holes, and there you go. Okay, so now we're all done. We only did the rear doors. I'll give you a look. So this door here is in way better condition than the one that we replaced it with. So that right there was how we replaced the rear doors on our 1990 Toyota 4Runner. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Cheers.